listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show.
You're listening to the Tom Daniel Show, and I'm your host, Tom Daniel. I had a previous episode about acoustics, the scientific properties of sound. It was called If a Tree Falls in the Woods. Oh, but I ran way out of time before I could finish everything I wanted to talk about. Well, through the magic of this being my show with, my name on it, I can dive right back in anytime I feel like it. Well, I feel like it. In this follow-up episode, I'll talk about celestial harmony, the hearing ranges of some cute, cuddly little creatures and some not-so-cute, cuddly little creatures, sonic booms, decibels, the infamous brown note, resonant frequencies, and a ghost story. I want to equip you with a richer understanding of acoustics without getting totally bogged down in jargon. Cutting through the noise, you could say. Or you could say I'm bringing you the key elements that truly resonate. Wait, it's all echoing back to me now. Why do haunted houses have terrible acoustics? Too much dead space. I could do this all day. Oh, come on. Don't give me the silent treatment. Okay, I ended that first episode by talking about the standard tuning pitches used by musicians and composers over the centuries. The ratios Pythagoras established between pitches has always remained constant, but the actual reference pitch for A has drifted around quite a bit. Now, finally, there was an international establishment of a standard tuning reference at A440 in 1955, and we've been there ever since. Well, at least until the mid-2000s when YouTube showed up. You see, lightning resonates with the Earth at a little under 8 hertz. That's 8 vibrations per second, and it's called the Schumann resonance. It can also be pronounced the Schumann resonance. Either one's correct. A frequency of 8 hertz is a very, very low C, and it's far too low for us to hear. However, if you use the ratios of Pythagoras to go upward in pitch, then you arrive at A432 instead of A440. Now, according to a popular theory on YouTube, this means that A432 is the much more organic tuning reference than A440. And there are actually apps available that drop the pitch of all your audio files from A440 to A432. Well, let's try it out. Now, here's the intro to this episode of the Tom Daniel Show as played at A440, and then followed immediately drop down to A432. Now, see if you can hear a difference, and does the difference make a difference? Okay, here we go.
Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show.
Okay, do you feel more cosmic and heavenly now? Is this the more proper frequency in order for our music to be in celestial harmony? Don't we want our music to be more organic? Shouldn't we retune all our music to reflect the vibrational frequency of the cosmos? Are there therapeutic benefits to this? Will it open my third eye? Could we all be aligning our chakras right now and walking around in yoga poses if we would just retune our music down to 432? Absolutely no. Now, even though Pythagoras himself believed that music could restore harmony to the soul, this is all total hogwash. It's the closest thing to a flat earth theory as you can get in music. It's all snake oil. Now, there are two pretty huge problems with this A432 nonsense. Although I admit it does sound compelling, it just doesn't hold up very well. First of all, the Schumann resonance is not even constant. It fluctuates. The scientific average frequency is actually 7.83 hertz, not a nice round even 8 hertz. Therefore, the exact frequency of the A above, as computed by Pythagoras, would be 375.84 hertz, not even close to 432. And that doesn't sound very cosmic. Second, this only works with Pythagorean tuning, which we actually ditched about 300 years ago in favor of equal temperament tuning. Equal temperament is what we use today, not Pythagorean tuning. Now, we had to change our tuning system from Pythagorean tuning to equal temperament tuning during Bach's lifetime. As Western music evolved and became more harmonically complex, composers and performers discovered a major flaw with Pythagorean tuning. Any more than 3 instruments or 3 different notes at the same time, everything sounds out of tune. Now, Pythagorean tuning worked perfectly for tuning the so-called perfect intervals. The perfect octave is a 2-to-1 ratio. The perfect fifth is a 3-to-2 ratio. The perfect fourth is a 4-to-3 ratio. Now, in those 3 intervals, the math is, well, perfect. But not so much with the other intervals, like the major second, the major third, the minor third, the major sixth, etc. Equal temperament was developed specifically to solve that problem, a compromise for practicality. So instead of 5 instruments playing out of tune, now we can have 50 playing in tune. Instead of everything being in parallel fourths, fifths, and octaves, well, now we can have major and minor chords and chord progressions. That's where orchestras come from. That's where Western harmony comes from equal temperament tuning. With Pythagorean tuning, there can't be any orchestras or chord progressions. Everything will sound terrible. And so that's why if you just simply return the music to 432, it's not going to work. Not only would we have to lower the tuning, we'd have to overhaul the entire tuning system and return to a method that we already know is not going to work. So let's just keep our music where it is, okay? Cosmic pitch debunked. Good to know. Okay, how high and how low can you actually hear? Now, obviously, you can hear 27.5 hertz and 3520 hertz, which are the lowest and highest A's on the keyboard. But how much lower and higher can you actually hear? The standard range of human hearing is between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. Some people can hear slightly higher or slightly lower than that, and some people can't hear that low or high at all. Everybody's different. So it's just a rough guide, 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. However, the older you get, the closer together those two numbers get, meaning you're going to lose your upper and lower ranges of hearing as you age. I'm sorry, but that's just inevitable. So with that range in mind, though, you can see why the piano doesn't go any lower than 27.5. That's the lowest note on a piano. See, an octave lower than 27.5 would mathematically be half of that, 13.75 hertz. And that frequency is too low for you to hear, since you can only hear down to 20. But if that's true, why don't pianos go higher? The top note on a piano is a C, which is a little less than 5,000 hertz. And, you can hear all the way up to 20,000 hertz. So where's the rest of your piano? You're being cheated out of a lot of piano, aren't you? You should be out there demanding the rest of your piano. Well, not really. If the top note is close to 5,000, don't forget your Pythagoras. An octave higher than 5,000 is going to be about 10,000, and then an octave higher than that is going to be 20,000, and there you go. So you're really only missing a little more than 2 octaves off the top of the piano and about half an octave off the bottom. Therefore, the piano keyboard is really almost a perfect snapshot of the range of human hearing. It goes almost as low as you can hear and almost as high as you can hear. What about dogs and cats? I mean, how high can dogs and cats hear? Their hearing range is slightly different from ours. It's more shifted towards the top end and away from the bottom end. Dogs typically can hear from 40 hertz to 60,000 hertz, and cats from 50 hertz to 85,000 hertz. Neither animal can hear as low as us, but both animals can hear higher than us. That's why dogs and cats really like it when we talk to them in baby voices with high pitches. They can hear it better. Low-pitched voices kind of disturb them a little bit. But man, cats can hear all the way up to 85,000 hertz. How high is that? Remember, don't forget your Pythagoras. We hear up to 20,000 hertz, so an octave higher than that is 40,000 hertz, and an octave higher than that's 80,000, and there you go, top end of the cat hearing. So cats can hear about 2 octaves higher than us, and dogs about 1.5 octaves higher. I mean, definitely higher, but not ridiculously higher. And what about dog whistles? How do those things even work? Dog whistles produce pitches between 40,000 hertz and 50,000 hertz, which is too high for us to hear, but perfectly fine for dogs to hear. Now, most humans won't hear anything when someone blows a dog whistle, but some will be able to hear kind of a hissing sound. Now, by the way, unlike cartoons, dog whistles do not make dogs mad at all. They just hear them when we can't. Porpoises can hear up to 150,000 hertz, which is 3 octaves higher than us. They utter a series of ultra-high frequency clicks that bounce off items underwater, and it allows the porpoise to navigate, hunt, communicate through these sonic echoes. Now also, they don't have outer ears like ours. They receive vibrations through their lower jaw. That's right, hearing with the chin. Now, from there, the rest of their hearing system is similar to ours. They've got a middle ear, inner ear with cochlea, auditory nerve, brain, the works. Now, bats can hear up to about 200,000 hertz. They use echolocation in the same way as a porpoise by bouncing high-frequency bursts off objects and listening for the echo. That way, they can find their way around, locate food, talk to each other, etc. But the earth creature with potentially the highest hearing of all is the lesser wax moth, which can hear up to 300,000 hertz. Now, it also uses echolocation, but its really super high-end hearing allows it to eavesdrop on the bats that are hunting them and therefore avoid them. That's pretty cool. And when we come back, we'll talk about some really creepy stuff involving acoustics. Now, you're listening to The Tom Daniels Show. We'll be right back.
What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show.
Welcome back to the Tom Daniels Show. Man, I love me some Mary Mac. Mary Mac is the world's most perfect band. Now, we're still talking about acoustics here, and here's some quick, rapid-fire fun facts about acoustics. Thunder is basically a sonic boom. Sound does not travel faster if it's louder. A shout does not travel faster than a whisper. Noise-canceling headphones work best on steady, low-frequency sounds, but they struggle on sharp or irregular noises like people talking. So they're good for the hum coming from the airplane engine, but not for the chatty person or the crying baby sitting right next to you. Sorry about that. Sound travels farther on cold days than hot ones, and it travels better at night. Sound travels a lot faster in water than in air, and the speed of sound in air is about 767 miles per hour, but in water, it's almost 3,300 miles per hour. And the speed of sound in metal is about 10,000 miles per hour. Well, it'll get on up. A sonic booms happen when an object travels faster than its own sound waves. Now, if an object making sound travels faster than 767 miles per hour, it outruns its own sound waves, which creates a booming sound as it goes by them. It's not one singular boom either. It's a series of them that continues as long as the object is traveling faster than sound. Can sound kill? Unfortunately, yes. And it has everything to do with volume intensity. The scientific measure of volume intensity is the decibel. Basically, every 10 decibels represents doubling the volume, which makes it a logarithmic system instead of a linear system. 130 decibels is exactly twice as loud as 120 decibels. By the way, 120 decibels is the volume level of a basic rock concert, and 130 decibels is like standing next to a jet engine. It's twice as loud. A normal conversational volume is about 60 decibels, and a loud football stadium is about 100 decibels. So that's 40 decibels higher than a conversation, which is, 4 times louder? Well, no, it's actually 16 times louder. That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. By the way, 10 decibels is considered to be 1 bell, which was named after Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. At 150 decibels, the human eardrum bursts. Astonishingly, the eardrum will repair itself over time without needing surgery, but please don't experiment with that. Man, it gives me the creeps just thinking about it. At 185 decibels, death occurs. Now, right before the lungs burst from the increased air pressure, they send out air bubbles to the heart, which causes an embolism. And of course, this all happens simultaneously with other internal organs bursting, so not a fun way to go. Hey, note to self, avoid lung-rupturing volumes. Got it. What's the loudest sound ever documented? In 1883, the volcano Krakatoa erupted at an estimated 310 decibels. And don't forget, every 10 decibels mean that the volume completely doubles. Tens of thousands of people were killed instantly from the sound alone, and folks as far away as 3,000 miles heard it. Now, you know how annoying it is when someone plays their music too loud, right? Imagine being in Miami and hearing a rock concert from Seattle. That was the volume of Krakatoa. Everyone 100 miles away experienced volumes at 170 decibels and suffered permanent hearing loss. According to weather stations around the world, they could tell through changes in barometric pressure that the shock wave from the blast circled the globe 7 times before finally dissipating. I bet that puts your neighbor's loud music in perspective right there. Oh, wait. If everybody nearby died, how do they know how loud it was? And how did they even measure that back in 1883? Well, I kind of already told you. Barometric pressure. Barometers don't need electricity. And we learned in the other acoustics episode that vibrations create fluctuations in air pressure, which our brain interprets as sound. Well, air pressure is exactly what barometers measure. Therefore, they were able to convert the spikes in air pressure from the eruption and work backwards in distance towards Krakatoa to figure out how loud it was. Again, pretty cool. Now, what about these echoes from the past I keep seeing on the TV shows? These so-called haunted recordings. Have you ever heard of this? Now, the claim is that certain 19th century building materials like plaster, stone, and ceiling tile have somehow managed to record sounds from traumatic events like murders, and they sometimes just replay themselves under the right conditions. some kind of a ghostly audio loop. And why is it always the 19th century when it comes to ghosts? Aren't there any punk rock ghosts from the 70s out there somewhere? Anyway, there is no scientific basis for this haunted recording phenomenon at all. Although it's a very popular urban legend, it's not supported by anything in physics or acoustics. Sound vibrations can't be stamped into material, stored, and then somehow shaken back out. They have to be carved in and then uncarved to replay the sound. Okay, I can't talk about acoustics without talking about the elephant in the room, the infamous brown note. Now, there's some very credible research into the physical effects on the human body caused by certain pitch frequencies. I admit that. There are low frequencies that can cause your optical fluid to vibrate, which basically jiggles your eyeballs and makes you see shadowy figures or movement that's not really there. One thing that haunted castles, haunted factories, and haunted warehouses all have in common is a persistent low-pitched hum buried within their cavernous infrastructure. Therefore, the vibrations within the structure is what causes people to see ghosts. It also causes them to feel scared. Low-pitched vibrations can cause feelings of extreme unease, discomfort, and dread. Amusement park haunted houses have known this for a long time and exploit that sensation to make everything scarier than it really is. Basically, they keep a constant low-pitched hum going within the structure, and as long as you're inside, you feel terrified. But as soon as you step out, the feeling stops. So, is there a specific low-frequency pitch that can cause you to lose control of your bowels and soil yourself? That's the urban legend of the infamous brown note. And no, it does not exist. The rumor started back in the 70s with a piece of satire that described a mythical musical instrument that could cause diarrhea. Now, like most urban legends, it really blew up. I can't believe I just said that. It blew up with the internet, but it's not real. And you can take that one off your list and stop worrying about it. Myth busted. A few years ago, there was a story that the Janet Jackson song Rhythm Nation was some kind of cybersecurity threat because it caused computers to glitch out and crash. Remember that? Well, this one actually is partially true and involves something called resonant frequency. Now, have you ever run your finger around the rim of a wine glass, causing it to ring? Every solid object, whether natural or man-made, has a resonant frequency, and the object will vibrate at that frequency when it comes into contact with a strong sympathetic frequency with enough energy. And when you run your finger around the rim of a wine glass, you are engaging the natural resonant frequency within the glass, causing it to vibrate with your finger and ring. There was a famous commercial in the 80s for Memorex, where jazz singer Ella Fitzgerald caused a wine glass to shatter when she hit a certain high note. Now, what she did was hit the resonant frequency of that particular glass. Of course, that's really not practical unless you're using a thin and fragile glass. And Ella freaking Fitzgerald, good grief, trust me, your cousin Sophia is not going to have the pipes to pull that off. Computer hard drives are notorious for having resonant frequencies that can be easily interfered with. People have been known to scream into their computers at just the right pitch and cause it to crash. I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but it's a real thing. YouTube it. Now, Rhythm Nation was most likely recorded at A440, but the single was sped up ever so slightly to make it sound a little more exciting, and the new higher pitch just happened to excite the resonant frequency of certain laptop hard drives, causing them to crash. It's freaky, but it can definitely happen. So it wasn't any kind of spy data encrypted and embedded in the song. It was just a specific low pitch shaking the hardware. An accidental sonic weapon, digital sabotage via pop music. Now, speaking of freaky, Did you hear the story about the Echo Room?
In a forgotten part of the university campus stood the old acoustics research department, a squat brick building. No windows, only one steel door. It had once been a hub for cutting-edge sound experiments, until a grad student named Sylvia vanished there in 1971 during a late-night project. Sylvia had been researching resonant frequencies, particularly how certain tones could cause objects, or even the human body, to vibrate. Her notes suggested she was really onto something strange. On the night she disappeared, campus security heard something, a low rhythmic hum pulsing from the building, like a chant or a droning prayer. When they finally broke in, the sound stopped. Inside they found Sylvia's notes. They were scattered all over the floor. The oscillator was still running. A circle of shattered glass was around the center of the room. But Sylvia was gone. No trace of her has ever been found. The room was sealed up and the project buried, but every now and then, curious students would sneak inside. Some of them heard strange echoes, voices that weren't their own. Others claimed to hear Sylvia whispering in the interference patterns, her voice woven into the white noise. Some people said Sylvia hadn't vanished, she'd just become part of the room, a waveform trapped in infinite reflection, bouncing forever in the frequency she once tried to control. One professor there, Dr. Lin, swore she once heard something. Someone testing sounds in that old building next door to her lab. She went to investigate and found it empty, of course, except for a spectrogram printout from the old equipment. The waveform showed a message. Clear. Ear, it said, keep listening. Keep learning. Keep listening, keep learning!
This has been the Tom Daniels Show.
Keep listening, keep learning. The Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening, keep learning. The Tom Daniels Show. Take a break from your usual routine and tune in to the Tom Daniels Show. You'll discover the world of melodies and stories that you might not know. Keep listening, keep learning. The Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening, keep learning. The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom